From Tokyo, Japan and New Plymouth, New Zealand, this is Down to Business English with your hosts, Skip Montreux and Samantha Vega.
Hello, Samantha.
Hi, Skip.
How is your day going?
Well, I'm still here, but my morning didn't start very well.
Oh, no? What happened?
Our kitchen sink got completely clogged. Water wouldn't drain at all.
Oh, did you try a plunger?
Yeah, I tried using a plunger, but it didn't work. So I had to call a plumber.
Oh, no. Plumbing problems are the worst. Did you have to wait a long time for a plumber to show up?
Fortunately, no. The plumber arrived within an hour, fixed the pipe, and checked that everything was working properly. He really knew his job. I was impressed.
Well, that is good to hear. I imagine that it cost you a pretty penny, though. Weekend house calls are not cheap.
Oh, yes, it was expensive.
Well, at least you did find someone fast. Skilled tradespeople are in really high demand these days.
Definitely. As you know, when I'm not podcasting with you, I help young people find work. It's often their first step onto the employment ladder. Many of those jobs are blue-collar roles. Builders, sparkies, painters, mechanics, all kinds of trades. And they just aren't for boys. Many tradie roles are being picked up by girls, too.
Sparkies?
Yeah, that's what we call electricians here in New Zealand.
Oh, okay, and what about tradies?
A short version of tradesmen, or tradespeople these days.
Wow, so you are well-versed in the blue-collar job market.
I suppose so. I certainly see a growing trend every day. More and more people are choosing blue-collar jobs instead of office work.
Well, it just so happens that the business topic I want to report on today is all about the growing popularity of blue-collar jobs.
Great. That's something I know a little bit about. Let's do it.
Yes, let's get D2B, down to business, with Back to the Workshop, the rise of blue-collar careers. Maybe we should quickly explain what we mean by the term blue-collar job, just in case some of our listeners are not familiar with it.
Good idea. The term blue-collar job comes from the color of the denim shirts and jeans that many manual labor workers used to wear, especially in factories and workshops.
See, I told you that you were an expert. That is exactly right. But I want to stop right here. Many of my students have trouble hearing the difference between color, like red, green, blue, and collar, as in the collar of your shirt.
Ah, right. Those two words do sound very similar. There's a short sound, as in cup, when you say color. And collar is an aw sound, the same sound as in the word father.
The important thing is blue collar refers to the color of the shirt collar, not just the color of the shirt itself.
So a blue-collar job is a job where you work with your hands, like building, repairing, or making something. It includes jobs like electricians, plumbers, construction workers, and factory workers.
It is interesting that for many years, blue-collar jobs were less desirable, or were seen as not being as good as white-collar jobs.
Which was quite unfortunate, because they are such essential jobs. But they do tend to be dirty, dangerous, and physically difficult.
That they are.
When did the preference toward white-collar jobs start happening?
In the early part of the 20th century, especially after World War II. At that time, more people wanted to work in offices and get university degrees.
A white-collar office job meant higher salaries, more respect, and safer working conditions.
On the other hand, blue-collar work, even though essential, was sometimes looked down on. Many people viewed them as lower-status jobs for people who didn't have the money to go to university and get the education you needed for a white-collar job.
But things have started to change over the last 10 to 15 years. Salaries for some white-collar professions have plateaued, or even worse, have gone down, while at the same time, blue-collar jobs have become harder to fill.
And because there are not enough skilled workers, businesses have started to pay higher wages for these blue-collar roles.
That's why today we're seeing more and more people, especially young people, choosing blue-collar careers.
And not just in one country. This is happening in the US, Europe, China, and many other places around the world.
Do you have any data on that?
The United States is a standout example. In recent years, blue-collar wages in America have grown at their fastest rate in nearly 6 decades. And projections show that there could be around 1.7 million new blue-collar positions created by 2032.
And these jobs actually pay well?
They do. Some skilled trades in the U.S., like electricians, plumbers, and elevator mechanics, can earn as much or sometimes more than many office workers.
How much are we talking about here?
It's not that uncommon for experienced tradespeople to make $80,000 or even higher. In fact, in some cities, unionized construction workers and crane operators are earning 6-figure salaries.
Phew, over $100,000 a year without a university degree. That's a big change from the old stereotype that blue-collar jobs are low paid. Those salaries are definitely competitive with a lot of professional white-collar jobs.
No kidding. Consider Dustin Snyder, a former office worker from Seattle. He left a job as a corporate account manager and trained to be a low-voltage electrician. 6 years later, he is earning more than he ever did before, and he is enjoying a better work-life balance. He says his life is 1,000,000 times better.
It just goes to show you how switching to a trade can not only increase your income, but also your overall job satisfaction and lifestyle. But there must be other reasons as well. What else is making blue-collar jobs more attractive to workers in the U.S.?
There are several reasons. One of the biggest factors is a nationwide shortage of skilled tradespeople. As older workers retire and fewer young people go into the trades, companies are forced to offer higher wages to attract new talent.
That is very much the case here in New Zealand, and I'm sure it's a similar issue in every developed country worldwide.
And at the same time, many people are questioning the value of taking out massive student loans and going deep into debt to get a university degree, when a blue-collar job can offer good pay, job security, and sometimes even better benefits.
I know so many people who spend the better part of their careers paying off their student loans.
So do I. And university tuition is only increasing.
And this trend toward blue-collar work isn't limited to the U.S.
No, it's not. Europe is experiencing similar changes. Germany and France especially are struggling to fill jobs in construction, manufacturing, and logistics.
It sounds very similar to what's happening in New Zealand. Those industries are always looking for workers. What about China?
In China, young job seekers are increasingly choosing well-paid, stable blue-collar positions over traditional white-collar office jobs. Some high-skilled manufacturing workers are now earning salaries that rival those of junior office workers, especially in technology hubs and industrial areas.
That's quite a shift in thinking. I always thought office jobs were the top choice in China.
It certainly used to be that way. But with economic changes and a stronger focus on job security, skilled trades have become much more attractive.
Another attraction to blue-collar work is people like to get out from behind the desk. They're physically fit when they're working in a trade role most of the time.
Sure.
And the health benefits show. We have a saying here, the tradies get the ladies.
Really? You have that saying in New Zealand?
Yes. So blue-collar work is really making a comeback in New Zealand and worldwide. And people can actually make a great living doing it, too. This isn't just a passing trend.
No, it's not just a passing trend. With growing demand, higher salaries, and increased respect for skilled trades, blue-collar jobs are opening up new career paths for people who want stable, well-paying, and meaningful work.
Now, while blue-collar careers are becoming more attractive, there are some real challenges that come with these jobs, too.
Sure.
What would you say are the biggest difficulties facing blue-collar work today?
Well, one major issue in the industry itself is the shortage of skilled workers. In many countries, there simply aren't enough people training for these trades to replace the older generation who is retiring. Vocational schools and apprenticeship programs cannot keep up with demand, which is only making the shortage worse.
I have seen that here in New Zealand. Our vocational schools actually struggle with getting the teachers to teach these skills. Companies are also offering better pay or other incentives, like medical insurance. But even then, they still struggle to find enough qualified people.
And for those who do decide to enter a trade, the jobs themselves are physically demanding.
Long hours, heavy lifting, and working outdoors in all sorts of weather are part of many blue-collar roles.
There's also a higher risk of injury, especially in construction, manufacturing, and mining. In fact, the World Economic Forum's 2023 Future of Jobs report points out that workplace accident rates in those sectors are significantly higher than in most office-based jobs.
So even though blue-collar work can pay well, the work is definitely not easy.
And then there is the lingering stigma that still surrounds blue-collar work.
But that is changing.
Yes, but in some societies, blue-collar jobs are still seen as second best, or as a last resort for those who didn't go to university.
Yeah, that old attitude can discourage young people from choosing a career in the trades, even when the pay and prospects are excellent. It really is too bad.
I know a lot of parents who still push their kids towards university, even if their child isn't interested in office work.
It's a difficult mindset to change.
But like you said, it is slowly changing. Today's skilled tradespeople need to be comfortable with a variety of digital tools, advanced machinery, even robotics in some fields. All of that requires lifelong learning and regular upskilling. So, professional development is not just for white-collar workers, but for blue-collar jobs as well.
It sounds like blue-collar jobs are changing just as quickly as office jobs.
They are.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to get D2V. Down to vocabulary.
Let's start today's D2V with the expression, a pretty penny. If something costs you a pretty penny, it means it is quite expensive or has cost you a lot of money.
A pretty penny is an old idiomatic phrase. A penny is a 1-cent coin, and pretty is a large amount. So a pretty penny communicates that something is pricey, or that you had to pay a lot for it.
In the introduction of today's episode, after Samantha told me about her plumbing emergency, I commented that it must have cost her a pretty penny. In other words, I was commenting that having a plumber come out to her house, especially on the weekend, must have been very expensive.
And it definitely was. You'll hear people use a pretty penny for all kinds of expensive things in business, not just repairs.
Can you give us an example?
For example, you might say, upgrading our IT system cost us a pretty penny. Or, that advertising campaign is going to cost the company a pretty penny.
And in a meeting, you might hear, this new piece of equipment will save us time, but it is going to set us back a pretty penny. What's our next word?
The next word on our D2V list is the noun projection. A projection is an estimate or a forecast about what is likely to happen in the future, usually based on some data or trend.
Sales reports and presentations are always full of projections on what the company thinks they will likely sell in the future. They are not guarantees, they are informed guesses about future results.
In today's episode, Skip reported that some projections show there could be 1.7 million new blue-collar positions created by 2032.
I was saying that experts have looked at the current trends and data about blue-collar work and have used that information to predict what might happen over the next several years.
We should point out that you'll often hear the verb form to project. For example, Toyota projected that global vehicle sales would reach 10 million units last year.
I just read the other day that the World Bank is projecting the global economy to expand by 2.3% in 2025.
That doesn't seem very strong.
It isn't. It's the weakest growth since 2008.
Well, it's only a projection. Maybe the economy will do better than expected.
You are always the optimist, Samantha.
Oh, glass half full. I try.
Let's wrap up today's D2V with the expression, the last resort. When you do something as a last resort, you are only doing it because you have no other options left.
It's your final choice when nothing else has worked or is possible.
In today's episode, I said that blue-collar jobs are sometimes seen as a last resort for people who didn't go to university. In other words, some people view these jobs as something you choose only if all other paths are closed.
In a business setting, cutting staff is usually the last resort for a company in financial trouble. First, they might try to cut expenses, but if that doesn't work, they might, as a last resort, have to let people go.
A last resort can be necessary to solve a tough problem, but it usually means every other option has been tried or considered.
So, when you hear someone saying that they're doing something as a last resort, it's clear they would prefer a different solution, but there just aren't any better choices available.
Would you like to help Down to Business English reach more people wanting to improve their business English skills? Follow Down to Business English on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or any place podcasts are found. Leave a rating and a review and tell everyone how much you enjoy the show.
Thanks for all that information on blue-collar jobs, Skip. I find it so encouraging to hear salaries and benefits for blue-collar jobs are improving, and that this type of work is getting the respect it deserves.
No doubt. If I were younger or were just starting out on my career path today, I might strongly consider some kind of blue-collar job.
Would you? Oh, I don't know if I could see you in a helmet with a tool belt, or making weekend house calls for that matter.
Okay, well, anyway. D2E members and Apple Podcast subscribers, the bonus Down to Vocabulary episode for today's report will be coming out in the next few days. In that bonus D2V, we will be looking at 5 more words and expressions from today's episode.
Those words are to be well-versed, essential, to question something, to rival, and a mindset.
If you are a D2B member, make sure you have copied and pasted your member-only RSS feed URL from your account page on the D2B website into whatever podcasting app you use. That way, you will not miss out on that bonus episode.
And Apple Podcast subscribers, there is no need to do anything. That bonus D2V episode will appear in your podcast feed automatically.
Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time.
Take care.
Down to Business English. Business news to improve your business English.